My object is to find people's real needs, to develop products which are of real benefit to people in whatever way, and to do that at a price that they can afford to do for 10p what anyone can do for £1.
Welcome in. Today, we're going back to the 80s to revisit the ZX Spectrum.
Right.
This little computer really took the UK by storm. We're going to unpack its importance and learn about the man behind it, Sir Clive Sinclair.
I think what's really interesting here is how this machine,
Yeah.
with those blocky graphics and the, iconic keys,
Right.
ended up being such a cultural phenomenon. It was more than just a computer.
Yeah.
It was a gateway to something bigger.
And our guides for this deep dive are Nicola and Anthony Caulfield.
Okay.
They're the filmmakers behind the new documentary called The Rubber-Keyed Wonder,
Right.
which is all about the Spectrum.
Cool.
And they actually unearthed some amazing insights, but there's one little Hollywood connection that really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The Caulfields are having their documentary premiere at the BFI IMAX in London, which is a pretty awesome location.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And rumor has it that Francis Ford Coppola himself might be there.
Wait, hold on. Francis Ford Coppola, like the Godfather Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola.
That's the one.
What's he doing at a ZX Spectrum documentary premiere?
Well, apparently he was a huge Sinclair fan back in the day. Owned some of his products. Even it's easy to forget that even someone like Coppola,
Yeah.
a visionary in his own right, was captivated by what Sinclair was doing. I don't know about you, but it makes me think about how innovation can have this ripple effect across different fields and industries.
Totally. And the Caulfields make it really clear that Sir Clive's influence goes way beyond just gaming, even though that's what the Spectrum's known for.
Right.
I mean, this is the guy who invented the pocket calculator.
Yeah, a total game changer.
Yeah.
We kind of take it for granted these days.
Totally.
But imagine how big of a deal it was to go from those clunky desktop calculators to one that could fit right in your pocket.
Right.
It was like he democratized mathematics.
Totally. And it seems like that was a recurring theme with him making technology accessible.
Absolutely.
But he was also known for making some missteps, like that C5 electric vehicle.
Yeah, that's the one. That's a classic example of how Sinclair's ambition could sometimes get ahead of what was actually practical, as the Caulfields point out in their film. He had this reputation for jumping on to the next big thing before the last one had even really taken off.
Right.
But, that same restless energy,
Yeah.
that's also what fueled his incredible successes.
It's like the classic inventor's dilemma, isn't it?
Right.
Knowing when to keep refining something and when to just leap forward to something totally new.
Yeah.
And speaking of leaping forward, the Caulfields get into this really interesting what-if scenario involving the Sinclair QL, which was a later computer that could have been huge.
Okay, yeah, and this is where it gets even more interesting. So, Sinclair Research,
Okay.
they were offered a 3.5-inch floppy disk drive for the QL. And this was months before it was even released.
Okay, so why is that a big deal? I mean, floppy disks, who cares?
Wait, you got to remember, this was the 80s, and the 3.5-inch floppy disk, that was about to become like the industry standard.
Okay.
But Sinclair, he's always pushing for something new and different.
Right.
So he opted for his own system called the microdrive instead.
And how'd that go?
Well, let's just say the microdrive wasn't exactly known for its reliability.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it became a big problem for the QL.
Wow.
And meanwhile, the 3.5-inch floppy disk,
Yeah.
that became the standard everyone used.
Right.
If Sinclair had just gone with the existing technology, who knows?
Yeah.
The QL could have been a huge success. It just goes to show how even a small choice like that,
Right.
about something as simple as a floppy disk, can have a huge impact on the whole industry.
It really is mind-boggling when you think about it.
Yeah,
One decision could have completely changed how technology developed.
absolutely.
So the QL was kind of a missed opportunity?
I think in a way, yeah.
Okay.
The Caulfield seemed to suggest it might have been Sinclair's biggest what-if moment.
Yep.
But even with the setbacks, there's this real love for the Spectrum that comes through in their documentary.
Yeah.
They talk to people who built it and coded for it and played on it. It's obvious this machine really meant something to people.
Yeah, and the Caulfields were Spectrum kids themselves, right?
Really?
They have that firsthand experience.
Oh, yeah. Nicola was super into this game called Chambers of Horrors. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. I don't think so.
Me neither. It was totally new to me.
Wow.
But it looked pretty cool.
Interesting.
And Anthony talked about playing Jetpack at a friend's house.
Okay.
He remembers it so clearly. The colors on the screen, the smell of the machine getting hot.
Oh, wow.
He even remembers unplugging it every time. Because, get this, the Spectrum didn't even have a power button.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
You had to unplug it every time.
Every single time.
That's crazy. That sounds like a fire hazard waiting to happen.
Right. You'd think so.
What was Sinclair thinking?
Believe it or not, it was actually to save money by getting rid of what they considered a non-essential feature.
Right.
Sinclair could keep the price down and make the Spectrum affordable for more people.
That's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
And it goes back to his whole mission of making technology accessible.
Exactly.
It's still kind of funny to think about, though, right?
Yeah.
Unplugging your computer like it's a toaster.
I know, right?
So speaking of iconic Spectrum features, what about those rubber keys?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone talks about them.
That's actually one of the myths the Caulfields debunk in their documentary.
Really?
Right in the title, in fact.
Okay.
They point out the keys weren't actually made of rubber at all.
Oh.
They were made from a material called elastomer.
So technically, it should be the elastomeric keyed wonder.
Maybe, but that doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it?
Not quite as catchy.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what other tech myths are we clinging to?
It's true.
What do we just accept as truth because we've heard it so many times? It's like playing a game of telephone with tech history.
Yeah.
Something gets repeated enough, everyone just assumes it's true.
Right.
But going back to the Spectrum itself,
Yeah.
I feel like the Caulfields are really trying to show us the whole picture, not just get lost in the nostalgia.
Oh, totally. They want to celebrate the Spectrum's legacy for sure.
Yeah.
But they also want to acknowledge its quirks and, the man behind it all.
Yeah.
It's about all sides of the story, the good, the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And the elastomeric.
yeah, exactly.
I like that. And it really strikes me how much the Spectrum story kind of mirrors the tech world today,
Totally.
even with all the advancements we've made since then.
Absolutely. I mean, you still have these brilliant, driven,
Right.
sometimes eccentric, even
Yeah.
innovators like Sir Clive, who are constantly pushing boundaries.
Pushing boundaries, taking risks.
Exactly. Sometimes it works out great, and sometimes they totally miss the mark.
Totally.
I think it reminds us that progress isn't always a straight line,
For sure. And there's still that same strong desire for technology that empowers people,
Yeah.
that makes things possible that weren't before. I think the Spectrum really tapped into that. And
Absolutely.
it set the stage for so much of what we take for granted today.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that this little machine with its...
With its elastomeric keys.
Right, exactly, with its elastomeric keys,
Yeah.
really sparked this huge wave of creativity.
Total.
People were coding their own games writing programs. It was like the floodgates just opened.
Wow.
The Caulfields actually argue that for a lot of people, especially in the UK, the ZX Spectrum was their first real experience with the digital age.
Mm.
It wasn't just a computer, it was like this cultural phenomenon.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating, isn't it?
Totally.
It's not just about some old gadget, it's about understanding how innovation happens and how even small decisions can have these huge ripple effects. It makes you wonder, what's the ZX Spectrum of today? What invention that seems kind of simple right now could actually unlock that same level of creativity and maybe even change the world? It's definitely something to think about.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds curious.